Hey guys, this is Chris back with another video, and today's video is gonna be for those that are looking to get into FPV. So if you wanna start flying and if you wanna get out there and do all the cool stuff, all the good tricks just like this, okay, or maybe like this one. Stay tuned, because in this video I'm gonna try to cover all the basics related to FPV, what it is, how to get started, what kind of gear you're gonna be needing, how much you're gonna be looking to spend to get into this hobby, also my recommended way to get started in this hobby, and much more. So let's take a look. Okay, so if you're watching this video, you might already know what FPV is, but if not, I will cover that real quick. FPV stands for first person view, and it is basically flying a drone, meaning a quadcopter or an airplane, based on the video feed from a tiny camera installed in them. In this video, I'm gonna be focusing on quadcopters because that's what I do, FrSky obviously. So a quadcopter is something like this that has the camera installed here. I don't know if you can see it, but whenever you're flying one of these guys, you're gonna be looking at the video feed from the camera installed here. So it's like if you were flying the quadcopter, if you were behind the cockpit. So that's why it's called first person view. Okay, so a couple of things that I feel like you should know before you get started in this hobby and before we cover all the gear that you're gonna be needing and how to get started on it. I feel like it's very important to let you know that there is a very steep learning curve in this hobby. You're gonna have to do a lot of research, learn new skills such as soldering, how to assemble and build your own drones just like this one. So let me tell you right now that you're gonna be spending a lot of time doing some research, fixing drones, in order for you to be flying. So everybody wants to go out there and fly. Of course, we wanna have all the fun, but chances are that you're gonna crash, you're gonna have to go back to the workbench, you're gonna have to be fixing things, you're gonna have to be soldering things, you might wanna upgrade your gear. So there's a lot of research that needs to be done. I spend a couple hours every day doing a lot of research, repairing my drones. So if you want to get started in the hobby, let me tell you that it's not just like connecting your controller to your drone and just fly and everything. It's fun. It is pretty fun. It's 100% worth it, at least for me, that's what I think. But you are gonna be spending a lot of time repairing your drones, doing research. Not everything is compatible with everything, so I'm gonna be covering all of those. With that out of the way, let's get started. And what are the basic components that you're gonna be needing to get into FPV? So that's the transmitter or controller, then there's the drone or the quadcopter, and also there's goggles. So let's go through all of those. Let's start with the most important, that I believe it's the transmitter or the controller. Here I have a bunch of different transmitters. This is an FrSky X-Lite, FlySky Nirvana, FrSky QX7, one of the most common and popular transmitters out there. So let me tell you a little bit about these guys. So I believe, and I would recommend that you get started by purchasing a transmitter. I think that that's the most important thing, because whenever you own one of these transmitters, you can practice in the simulator, and that is very, very important, because if you go out there and try to fly a drone without practicing in the simulator first, it's gonna be really hard. Flying on what's called manual or full acrobatic mode, it's pretty hard. So I would recommend to first get one of these, connect it to your computer and practice there, and you're gonna crash 1,000 times there, and then whenever you go out to the field and fly, you're gonna hopefully crash less. So let's talk about these guys. Right now I can think about a couple main brands on top of my head. Those are FrSky, which is one of the most popular, then FlySky, Spectrum, Jumper, etc. And one of the things that you need to be aware of is that not all controllers are compatible with all receivers, meaning not all controllers are compatible with all the drones. And there comes the research that I was talking about. So this guy is an FrSky controller. It uses the FrSky protocol, meaning that you will have to purchase special receivers that you're gonna connect in your drones to be able to use this guy. Same goes with FlySky. Different protocol, they use different receivers. So you need to be aware of that. There are some multi-protocol controllers out there, but I won't go into that because that's much more information that I won't be able to fit in this video. But you can do your research and just buy a controller right now that will be useful with all the other protocols. So I was gonna say, if you plan on buying one of these, this is the QX7, one of the most popular. If you're gonna get started with one of these, I would recommend something like this. Just because this is cheap, you're gonna be able to use this from a beginner to an advanced level. There's a lot of support and information about this controller. Same goes with this one. So if you want to get started, I would recommend getting started with one of the mainstream controllers, just like this one. This is gonna run you about $110 or so, so it's pretty decently priced. Also, I have another one here, the FlySky Nirvana, that I really like. However, I wouldn't recommend it for somebody that's just getting started, because you're gonna have to do a lot of configuration inside. There's not that much information or support about this guy. But if you feel like you can handle that, then you can overcome all those steps. You can do your research and do your configuration here. I would recommend this one because this is gonna be my daily driver. I got this not too long ago and I really like it. I really like how it feels. But yeah, you need to keep that in mind. Okay, let's talk about the drones after that. Okay, what kind of drones do we have? We have what's called a Tinywhoop, that is a tiny drone just like this one, which you can actually fly indoors. You can crash and nothing bad's gonna happen. I would definitely recommend getting started with one of these guys. If you don't know anything about FPV, these guys will stand a lot of crashes. I have crashed this guy hundreds of times and it's still standing. So yeah, I would definitely recommend these guys. Then you have micros. This is a 3-inch micro. It might seem pretty small still, but this guy is super fast, has a lot of power, has a top speed of 110 miles an hour. So it's actually a huge jump going from a Tinywhoop to a micro drone. So I would recommend getting started with one of these, do a lot of practice, and then going with one of these, because things can go bad real quick if you use one of these. And then you have more like the standard size, that's full size, which is 5-inch. And when I say 5-inch, that refers to the propellers. Here you have the frame that fits a 5-inch build. So yeah, these guys are the most common size. They are used for races. They are heavier. They can go pretty fast also. Here you have that I have a mount to put my GoPro, so you can put GoPros on top of them. So yeah, let's see, this guy is gonna run you about $100. Yeah, and this is an Emax TinyHawk. That's the name of this guy. I'm gonna leave a link of most of this stuff in the description of the video. This is gonna run you about $100 retail. This is about $160. The bigger one is about $200. So yeah, let's talk about goggles, and I forgot where I left my goggles, so I will be back in a second. Okay, so goggles. You have two main types of goggles. Box goggles, which are bulky and heavier, just like this one. This thing has a screen inside, so you just wear them and you will be able to see the video feed from your drone here. Yeah, I doubt that you can see it, but there's a screen there. And the other type of goggles is this one, just like band goggles. These are a little bit more compact, easier to carry. These are also more expensive. But basically, in your goggles, you're gonna have two antennas that are gonna be receiving the video feed from your video transmitter. Has a battery pack that you connect to the goggles, etc. But yeah, you have two types of goggles, I want to say, mainly. You have several brands. Top of my head, I can say the most popular, obviously, is Fat Shark. Then you will have, I don't know, maybe Skyzone. These are Skyzone goggles. Also you have Eachine, like this one. Oh, let's talk about prices. This guy, it's a great pair of goggles to get started. These guys are gonna run you about $100, I believe. And these are great. I really enjoyed these goggles. If they were not that bulky, I feel like I would be using this guy every day. Because the screen that they have inside feels huge if you compare them with something like this. Whenever I look inside these goggles, the screen is very tiny. But the thing is that this is very compact. This is gonna run you about 200. So if you want goggles, expect to spend about 100 to, I don't know, $500. These are analog goggles. You might have heard of DJI goggles, and those are digital goggles. Those cost about $500. But the thing with digital is that because it is a new technology and it's being just released and it's becoming mainstream, it is expensive, and second, it's not mainstream. You will have to do a lot of research to go to the digital way. Yeah, you pretty much have to make a decision, make up your mind if you want to go digital or if you want to go analog. Basically, the starting cost of analog is going to be way less than the starting cost of digital. Digital is much more expensive, but it does look way better. Your video feed is HD, so it looks pretty nice. But again, you're gonna be looking at least $1,000 for a setup. When if you go analog, it's gonna be like half of that. But I'm gonna talk a little bit more about prices later. So that's about goggles. So yeah, let's talk about prices. Here's the thing: people ask how much am I gonna have to spend to get into FPV, and you have two routes. If you feel like you like this hobby and it's gonna be something more of a long-term thing, I would definitely buy a controller, a decent controller, decent drone, decent goggles, etc. And that's gonna run you about, I wanna say $500, maybe $400. But if you feel like you just wanna try the hobby, you wanna get just something cheap, you can try one of the ready-to-fly bundles, which will include like a Tinywhoop, some box goggles that are very cheap, and a cheap controller. And you can get one of those actually for $180 or $200 if I'm right, just to get a feeling of what FPV is without breaking the bank. So if you do decide to go with the full build, with a controller of your choice, goggles of your choice, and drone of your choice, I said it's gonna run you about $400, but that's just the initial cost. Because here's the thing, you're gonna have to buy a lot of stuff that's complementary to your goggles, your drone, and your controller. such as batteries. You're gonna have to buy a lot of batteries, and batteries are not cheap. They are like $15 each. You're gonna have to get a battery charger. You're gonna have to get replacements, because you're, at least for these guys and even the micro sizes, you're gonna crash and you're gonna break something. You're gonna have to replace that something, so you're gonna have to be buying parts constantly just to replace the broken parts that you have. So parts there. Also soldering iron, because you're gonna have to learn how to solder. I said there's a lot of things that you're gonna have to learn for this hobby. Soldering iron. What else am I missing? Well, obviously you're gonna want to upgrade. You're gonna have to get all the tools if you don't have them already. What else? Frames, propellers. I don't know, like all this stuff breaks all the time, so you're gonna have to be putting money aside for this hobby every month. So I could tell you right now that you could get started for $400 or $500, but honestly you're gonna have to need around $600 to $800 to upkeep the hobby for a couple of months. So yeah, that's about the price. And I mentioned the soldering iron, so you need to be aware that you're gonna you're gonna have to learn how to solder components together, etc. So yeah, because let me tell you one of the things that I have noticed in my videos. I have uploaded reviews about products and drones just like this one, and this is a pretty heavy drone. This is like 500 or I want to say 500 grams. That's how heavy it is, and it goes about 100 miles an hour, and it goes very fast, it goes very far, etc. But I have noticed that people that have no idea about FPV are purchasing stuff like this. They don't know how to fly it, they don't know how to connect it, and that's a little bit worrisome, because if you have people that have no experience flying something like this, things can go bad really quick, really easily. If you're flying, I don't know, above somebody, this thing can fall, because like multiple times I have had this issue that I'm just flying in the park and all of a sudden I will lose video feed, or my drone will have a fail-safe and my drone will just fall dead. And if this thing falls on somebody or property, things can go really bad. So please, if you're thinking on getting into FPV, do your research. Start with a Tinywhoop before you go with one of these, because things can go really bad really easily. Like your drone will die out of nowhere without any apparent reason. So you just need to be careful, and please fly these guys in parks. Do not fly them above people, above property in the city, because again, things can go really bad. Okay, back to recommendations that I would give you. First, as I said, get the controller. Obviously you're gonna have to get a battery for the controller, etc. And my recommendation is to get a simulator. Let me mention a couple simulators. You have Drone Racing League, you have Liftoff. Those two are available on Steam. And also you have Velocidrone. I haven't tried Velocidrone, but people say that the physics of Velocidrone are pretty good. I own Liftoff and Drone Racing League, and those are pretty good simulators. So start there, get used to the sticks and everything on the simulator, and then go and do Tinywhoop. So yeah, that's $100 plus simulator, it's like $20, so you have like $120, $150 to get started to learn the basics of FPV. Then you will jump and get your drones. But that's basically it. I don't know what am I missing. But if you have any questions, just ask them in the comments below and I will try to reply to most of those questions. Okay, so I cannot think of anything else right now, but if you want me to cover anything about this in another video, I'll be happy to do it. So that's it for today's video. I really hope that this was helpful, and if it was, please do the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will try to keep on uploading content that is helpful for you guys. So thanks for watching and happy flying.